Revelation 3338. From the 21st of November 1944. Love work. Beginning redemption. Every human being should contribute his share to salvation, and he can also do so if only he sets an example of a life of love. For by doing so he also encourages his fellow human beings to live a life of love, as soon as love is shown to him at all times. Only love is redeeming, and only then can humanity be released from its spiritual and earthly distress if it decides to live a life of love. This will loosen the soul's cover and at the same time also alleviate the suffering on earth, which is often a means to stimulate the human being into a life of love. But people don't heed admonitions and warnings, they continue to persist in their lack of love, their thoughts and actions are far removed from love, and thus they create an unbearable fate for themselves on earth. They themselves are the originators of suffering and misery directly through their lack of love, and indirectly that they need a sharp antidote in order to change. But if the individual human being endeavors to live a life of love, he will banish suffering for himself and his surroundings, for God will reduce it because he will come ever closer to him in the same measure as the human being practices love, because he will now keep suffering away from him or help him to bear it if it is necessary for the sake of his fellow human beings' souls. And every work of love attracts God. With every work of love the human being creates a weapon against suffering. He can now easily overcome it and thus increasingly recognizes the power of love. But above all, a life of love loosens the cover which still surrounds the soul. And this is incipient redemption. It makes itself able to receive God's emanation, His Spirit. It gives life to the spirit within itself. The cover is broken which prevented a rapprochement between spirit and soul. Now if a person exemplifies a life of love to his fellow human beings, then the spiritual spark in him can connect with God's emanation, and where this can work, there the spiritual spark also seeks to break through its cover in the fellow human being's soul by urging the person to do good works and seeking to make itself heard. Thus a good example will always inspire imitation, for this is the strength of love, the strength of the spirit which is awakened through love and is constantly active and also seeks to make contact with the spiritual spark in the fellow human being. For the spiritual spark in the human being is part of God, and everything divine strives towards each other, but where the divine breaks through in the human being, there is also redemption. The earthbound soul becomes free, it casts off all fetters and comes closer to its original state again, the state of complete freedom. And only love can bring this about. Therefore every human being should only practice love, for the benefit of himself and his neighbor. He should set a good example and know that he will not only break the soul's bonds but also reduce earthly suffering. But that increasing unkindness also means an increase in earthly suffering, and that humanity will fall into an increasingly dark spiritual state from which nothing but love can deliver it. Amen.